At the Christmas party, my humiliation began with a single object, a lollipop. My husband handed expensive gifts to everyone, and when my turn came, he placed a lollipop in my hand because my mother-in-law told him I didn't deserve anything better. When I quietly asked for my right, she called me poor, ordered me to clean the floor, and when I refused, she slapped me so hard the entire room went silent. "Get out of my house," she screamed. I stepped into the cold night, shaking from insult and rage. But destiny did not leave me standing there alone. Because just minutes later, a black Rolls-Royce stopped at the gate. The door opened, and the man who stepped out made my world freeze. It was my brother, the same brother who had a brutal accident years ago. The same brother everyone believed was dead. Alive, powerful, and back for me. That night, he hugged me in front of everyone and made me the owner of $12 million. No one inside that house was ready for what came next. My name is Camilla, and I'm 25 years old. I never imagined that marriage would make me feel smaller than I ever felt in my entire life. When I married Daniel, I believed I was entering a family where I would finally belong. Instead, I walked straight into a home where every breath I took felt like a reminder that I didn't fit in. Daniel was wealthy, confident, and admired by his family. I was the opposite. Quiet, working hard, and coming from a simple background. His mother never let me forget it. From the first day I entered their house, she spoke to me like I was a mistake her son had made. I tried to ignore it. I tried to give her respect. But the more I tried, the more she pushed me down. Most days started with criticism. If I cooked, it wasn't seasoned enough. If I cleaned, she said it wasn't done properly. If I tried to rest, she would ask why I wasn't doing something useful. Daniel rarely defended me. He always said, "She's my mother. Please adjust a little." But adjusting became my full-time job. The hardest part was not having anyone on my side. My younger brother, Adam, had died in a car accident years earlier. Losing him broke something inside me that never healed. He was the only person who made me feel safe, seen, and understood. Without him, I felt like I had no anchor. Daniel's family took advantage of that loneliness every single day. When the Christmas party was announced, I tried to stay hopeful. Maybe I thought this time would be different. Maybe they would treat me like family for one night. I spent the entire day preparing the house, cleaning the living room, arranging the decorations, checking the food, fixing the lights. I wanted everything to look perfect. Not because they asked me to, but because I wanted to feel like I contributed to something meaningful. But even then, my mother-in-law found a reason to complain. "The table is crooked," she said. "The ornaments look cheap. You should have ironed your dress again." I stayed silent. Silence had become my safest choice. By the time the guests arrived, my feet hurt, my back was stiff, and my heart felt heavy. Daniel walked around the room greeting everyone while I stood near the kitchen, trying not to get in the way. The house looked beautiful, warm lights, expensive decor, laughter filling every corner. But inside, I felt like a shadow. I kept telling myself, just get through tonight. One night. That's all I needed to survive. But I had no idea that tonight would become the moment everything changed. The night I finally saw my place in this family. The night humiliation would push me past my breaking point. And the night fate would bring back someone I thought I lost forever. The party was in full swing, and everyone seemed relaxed except me. I kept adjusting bowls on the dining table, checking if the drinks were filled, trying to look useful. I didn't want anyone to say I was standing idle. My mother-in-law watched me from across the room, like she was waiting for me to do something wrong. Daniel finally called everyone together near the Christmas tree. "Let's start exchanging gifts," he said proudly. People gathered around him, smiling, excited. He had bought expensive gifts for everyone, and they already knew it. His family loved moments like these, moments where they could show off. He handed his sister a diamond bracelet. He gave his cousin a designer watch. His aunt received an expensive perfume set. Everyone clapped, praised him, hugged him. I stood quietly at the back, hoping to blend in. I wasn't expecting anything special. I just hoped he wouldn't embarrass me in front of everyone. Maybe a small box of chocolates, maybe a scarf, something simple. Something respectful. Then Daniel looked at me. Oh, and this is for Camilla. Everyone turned. I felt every pair of eyes land on me. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a single lollipop wrapped in cheap plastic. A few people gasped. A few laughed. Some tried to hide their smiles but failed. My face burned. I felt like I had shrunk to the size of that candy stick. I opened my mouth to speak, but before I could say a word, my mother-in-law stepped forward. I asked him to give you that, she said loudly, so everyone could hear. It suits you. You're poor. You don't need expensive gifts. Laughter spread through the room. Quiet giggles, mocking smiles, eyes that enjoyed the scene. I swallowed hard and tried to keep my voice steady. I wasn't asking for luxury, I said. I just wanted basic respect. Her expression changed instantly. She walked up to me, her face inches away. Respect? From us, she said. First, clean the floor. Then you can ask for respect. My hands shook. My heart pounded. I'm not cleaning the floor during the party, I said softly. The next second, her hand flew across my face. A sharp, loud slap. The room fell silent. My cheek burned. My eyes watered. Not from pain, from how small I felt in that moment. Get out of my house, she hissed. Right now. And take your useless attitude with you. She turned to the servants. Throw her things outside. Daniel didn't move. He didn't defend me. He didn't even look at me. Everyone stared while I stood there, frozen, trying not to cry. I finally walked toward the door, each step heavier than the last. I stepped outside into the cold night, alone and humiliated, wondering how my life had come to this. Then something unexpected happened. A distant engine noise came closer. Headlights approached the gate. A black Rolls-Royce rolled in slowly, its presence strong enough to silence even the air around me. The car stopped right in front of me. The back door opened. And my heart stopped, because the man who stepped out was someone I had buried in my memories years ago. For a moment, I couldn't move. The cold air around me felt completely still. The man stepping out of the Rolls-Royce looked older, stronger, and wealthier than the boy I remembered. But the face, the eyes, the way he looked at me, it was him. It was Adam, my younger brother, the brother I had cried for, the brother whose grave I had visited every year, the brother I thought I lost forever. He froze when he saw me, like he couldn't believe it either. Then his expression softened, the same protective look he had since childhood. Camilla, he said softly. My knees weakened. I covered my mouth with my hand as tears filled my eyes. I whispered, Adam, you're alive? Before he could speak, I ran to him. He opened his arms instantly, and I fell into a hug that felt unreal. The kind of hug that makes you question if you're awake. He held me tight, steady, like he was trying to make up for the years he wasn't there. I'm here, he said. I'm right here. Behind us, the front door opened. Daniel, my mother-in-law, and several guests stepped outside, shocked, confused, whispering among themselves. My mother-in-law's confident expression disappeared. Daniel's jaw went tense. Everyone stared like they were watching a ghost. Adam pulled back slightly, studying the red mark on my cheek. Who hit you? He asked, his voice calm but firm. I hesitated. I didn't want drama. I didn't want chaos. But he wasn't asking for permission. He was asking for truth. My mother-in-law, I said quietly. She slapped me and threw me out. Adam's eyes hardened, not with anger, but with control. He wasn't the helpless boy I once protected. He wasn't weak. He wasn't lost. He stood like a man who built his life from nothing and came back stronger than anyone expected. He turned his head toward the people watching us. The fear on their faces grew instantly. Let's go inside, Adam said. Together. I wiped my tears and nodded. We walked toward the house, side by side. For the first time in years, I didn't feel alone. As we stepped into the living room, the entire party froze. The same guests who had laughed at me minutes earlier now stood silent, unsure what was happening. Adam didn't shout. He didn't create a scene. He simply looked at Daniel and his mother with a calm expression that was more powerful than anger. What did you do to my sister tonight? He asked. My mother-in-law swallowed hard. Daniel looked down. No one had an answer. But Adam wasn't waiting for excuses. This ends now, he said. When Adam spoke, the entire room fell silent. No music. No whispers. No laughter like before. Everyone just stared. My mother-in-law, who always walked around with authority, suddenly stepped back like she had lost her ground. Daniel's eyes stayed fixed on the floor. His face looked pale, guilty, and unsure. Adam didn't raise his voice. He didn't look angry. He looked in control, and that seemed to scare them more than anything. He moved his eyes across the room, then back to my mother-in-law. I asked something, he said. What did you do to my sister tonight? She forced a smile that didn't match her shaking hands. It's a misunderstanding, she said. We were only humiliating her. Adam cut in, calm but sharp. In front of guests. Calling her poor? Giving her a lollipop at a family event. And then slapping her when she asked for basic respect. Her smile vanished. People around us shifted uncomfortably. Some looked away. Some lowered their heads. These were the same people who found my embarrassment entertaining just minutes earlier. Daniel finally spoke, but quietly. Adam, we didn't know you were alive. Adam looked directly at him. That doesn't change what you did to her. Daniel swallowed hard. I was going to talk to her later. No, Adam said plainly. You weren't. I felt something in my chest loosen. For years, I had faced every insult alone. Tonight, someone finally stood next to me, and not just anyone, my brother. Adam walked forward and stood in the center of the room. If you all think Camilla is alone, you're wrong, he said. You treated her like she had no one. You were confident no one would question you. He paused. You won't make that mistake again. My mother-in-law's voice cracked as she tried to regain control. Who do you think you are to speak like this in my house? Adam turned his eyes toward her. The man who built a life you never imagined, he said. The man who survived what should have killed him. And the man who will protect his sister from anyone, including you. She had no response. Then he turned to me. Camilla, do you want to stay here? He asked gently. I felt the weight of years on my shoulders. The insults, the loneliness, the silence, the disrespect. I looked at Daniel. He didn't even lift his eyes to meet mine. I finally said the truth. No, I don't want to stay here anymore. Adam nodded like he already knew. He reached for my hand. Then you're leaving with me. The room reacted instantly. Gasps, shocked faces, frozen expressions. Daniel finally lifted his head. Camilla, wait. Adam stepped in front of him. No, he said. You don't get to speak after what you allowed tonight. Daniel froze again, helpless. My mother-in-law tried one last time. You can't just take her. Adam looked at her with the same controlled strength. You lost that right the moment you raised your hand on her. She had no comeback left. For the first time since I entered this house, I felt safe. Not because my problems disappeared, but because someone stood for me loudly, clearly, confidently. Adam squeezed my hand. Let's go. And I walked out of that house with him, leaving behind the people who broke me and stepping toward a future I never expected. As Adam and I walked toward the gate, the cold air felt different. For years, I had stepped out of that house feeling small, unwanted, and empty. But tonight, I walked out with someone beside me, someone I had mourned, someone I believed was gone forever. When we reached the Rolls-Royce, he opened the door for me. Sit, he said softly. I got inside, still shaken, still trying to understand how this moment was even real. He sat beside me and closed the door. The driver waited quietly. For a few seconds, we both just breathed. Then I finally asked the question that had been burning in my mind since he appeared. Adam, how are you alive? He looked straight ahead before answering. I never died, Camilla. The accident happened, but I survived. Someone helped me, but I wasn't in the condition to come back. I had injuries, no memory for months, and no way to contact anyone. My chest tightened. All this time you were alive? Yes, he said. But I couldn't return until I rebuilt myself. I didn't want to come back weak or helpless. I wanted to come back as someone who could protect you. I wiped tears from my eyes. But why didn't you tell me sooner? I thought I lost you. He turned to me. When I finally recovered enough to return, I found out the life you were living here. I saw the way Daniel treated you. I saw how his family spoke to you. I wanted to return with strength, not as a burden, but as someone who could pull you out. His words hit deep. Adam had always been the one who stood up for me when we were kids. He wasn't just back, he was stronger than ever. I built my own company, he continued. It took years, but I made it. Tonight, I came here because I wanted to surprise you for Christmas. But I didn't expect to find you being insulted at the door. I looked down, embarrassed. I didn't know how to leave, Adam. I felt trapped. He placed his hand gently over mine. You're not trapped anymore. The car started moving. For a moment, I let myself lean back and breathe, something I hadn't done peacefully in years. But then Adam added something that made my heart pause. And Camilla, there's something else you need to know. I turned to him slowly. He continued, everything they said about you being poor, everything they used to shame you, it's about to change. Because the truth is, you're not the weak one in this story. I frowned, confused. What do you mean? Adam took a breath. I didn't just build a business. I built an empire. And everything I have, everything I've earned, half of it already belongs to you. My eyes widened.
What? Why?
He looked at me with a steady, protective expression. Because you're my sister, he said. And I made a promise to myself, if I ever got the chance to come back, I would make sure you never depend on anyone who doesn't respect you. I covered my mouth with my hands, overwhelmed. Adam continued calmly. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about your future, your freedom, your stability, your rights. Tonight, I want you to rest. You're with me now. And no one will humiliate you again. I slowly nodded, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Safety. The kind that comes when someone actually stands for you. The kind that replaces fear with strength. And for the first time since my marriage, I didn't feel alone. I woke up the next morning in a quiet guest room inside Adam's house. The bed was soft, the room was warm, and for the first time in months, I didn't wake up with tension in my chest. No footsteps of my mother-in-law. No criticism. No orders. Just silence. I sat up slowly, still trying to understand that yesterday wasn't a dream. Adam was alive.
He stood up for me.
He took me away from that house. I touched the faint mark on my cheek from the slap. It didn't hurt anymore, not the way it did last night. Today, it felt like a reminder of everything I finally walked away from. A soft knock came on the door. It's me, Adam said. I opened the door, and he handed me a cup of coffee. You didn't sleep much, he said. I kept replaying everything, I admitted. He nodded. Today, we're going to talk about what comes next, but first you eat. You look exhausted. I followed him downstairs to a clean, modern kitchen where breakfast was already set. I sat across from him, still adjusting to this new reality. After a few minutes of silence, he spoke. Camilla, I know you have questions. So, let's start with what matters most, your future. I want you to be independent, safe, and respected. I hesitated. I don't know where to begin. Everything feels strange. That's normal, he said. You lived in a toxic place for too long. It takes time to adjust. Then he leaned forward. But before we decide anything, I need to ask you something important. I looked up. Do you want to stay married to Daniel? The question hit me harder than I expected. I thought about the years of silence, the insults, the loneliness, the way he let his mother treat me, the way he stood still last night as she slapped me in front of a room full of people. No, I said, my voice steady. I don't want that life anymore. Adam nodded like he already knew.
Good.
Because walking away is the first step toward rebuilding who you are. I took a shaky breath. What am I supposed to do now? I don't have anything. Adam shook his head firmly. That's not true. You have me. And you have a share in my company. You're not starting from zero. My chest tightened with emotion. You don't have to give me anything. I'm not giving you anything, he said. I'm returning what you deserve. After our childhood, after everything you sacrificed, this is not charity. This is family. I blinked back tears. Then he added, "And today we're going back to that house." My heart dropped.
Why?
"Because they don't get to rewrite what happened," he said. "They don't get to pretend you left in silence. They need to face you, with me beside you." The thought scared me, but it also gave me a strength I didn't know I had. "What are we going to do?" I asked. Adam stood up calmly. "We're going to walk in, collect your things with dignity, and make it clear that you are not someone they can push around anymore." I exhaled slowly. "And Daniel?" Adam's voice turned firm. "He will answer for last night. He doesn't decide your worth anymore." I felt a shift inside me, small but real. For the first time in years, I wasn't reacting. I was choosing. Adam placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "Get ready, Camilla. Today, they will see the version of you they never expected." I nodded, because I finally believed it too. By early afternoon, I was standing near the front door of Adam's home, ready to leave with him. My hands were cold, not from the weather, but from the thought of returning to that house, the place where I had spent years trying to earn respect and receiving nothing in return. Adam walked toward me, checking his watch. "You ready?" he asked. I took a breath. "As ready as I can be." He gave a small nod. "We go in, take your things, and leave. No arguments. No conversation unless you want it." That made me feel stronger. The driver opened the door to the Rolls-Royce, and we sat inside. The ride was quiet but steady, like both of us were preparing for a moment neither of us wanted, but both of us needed. When we reached Daniel's house, my old house, the gatekeeper looked confused seeing the car, and even more confused seeing me step out with Adam. We walked to the front door. Before we could knock, the door opened. Daniel stood there. His eyes widened when he saw Adam beside me. His face looked tired, like he hadn't slept. He opened his mouth to speak, but Adam stepped forward. "We're here for Camilla's belongings," he said. "We won't take much of your time." Daniel tried to look confident, but his voice shook. "Camilla, can we talk privately?" I met his eyes for the first time since last night. "No," I said simply. "There's nothing left to talk about." A quiet hit the air. Daniel stepped aside without another word. Inside, the house felt different. Not because it had changed, but because I had changed. This time, I wasn't entering as someone afraid of being judged. I wasn't entering as someone hoping for respect. I was entering as someone who no longer needed their approval. My mother-in-law walked into the room. The moment she saw Adam, she froze. "Oh, you came back," she said, trying to sound polite but failing. Adam didn't waste time. "We're here for Camilla's things. Please don't interfere." Her eyes narrowed. "This is still my house. And she is still my sister," Adam replied calmly. "You lost the right to command her last night." She opened her mouth again, but for the first time, she couldn't find a solid argument. Adam turned to me. "Let's pack." We headed upstairs. Every step felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. I opened the closet where my clothes were still hanging, some folded neatly, some stuffed carelessly. Proof of how little they cared about my presence. Adam helped me pack, not speaking unless necessary. He wasn't rushing me. He was letting me take control. When we walked back downstairs with my suitcases, Daniel stood waiting. "Camilla," he said softly, "I'm sorry about last night. I didn't stop walking." "You weren't sorry last night," I said. "You watched it happen." He stepped closer. "I made a mistake." "No," I interrupted, steady and calm. "You made a choice. And now I'm making mine." My mother-in-law finally snapped. "You're leaving over one small argument?" I looked at her directly, maybe for the first time ever without fear. "You slapped me," I said. "You mocked me. You threw me out in front of your guests. That's not an argument. That's abuse." She went silent. Adam placed my suitcase near the door.
"We're done here," he said.
Daniel took a step forward. "Camilla, please don't do this." I looked at him. Not with anger, not with sadness, just clarity. I already did. I walked out of the house without turning back. The cold air outside felt cleaner than anything inside that home. Adam opened the car door for me again. As soon as I sat down, I felt a wave of relief, strong and unmistakable. When Adam got in, he looked at me with a calm confidence. "You did well," he said. I nodded, because for the first time in years, I believed that too. When the car pulled away from Daniel's house, I kept my eyes forward. I didn't look back. There was nothing behind me that I needed anymore. For years, stepping out of that house meant returning the next day with more fear, more pressure, more silence. But today it meant freedom. Adam sat beside me, watching me carefully. "How do you feel?" he asked. I thought about it for a moment. "Lighter," I said. "Strange, but lighter." He nodded. "That feeling will grow. You survived something heavy. Now you get to build something better." As the city passed by outside the window, I realized I had never made a decision this big on my own. Not because I couldn't, but because I wasn't allowed to. Now the choice was mine. When we reached Adam's home, he carried my bags inside. The house felt warm and inviting, not because it was expensive, but because it didn't hold anyone's insults or expectations. Adam placed my suitcase near a guest room and said, "This room is yours until you decide your next steps. No pressure, no timelines." I sat on the edge of the bed. "I don't know what my next steps are," I admitted. "That's okay," he said. "You don't have to know everything today. You just have to remember you're not alone." His words meant more than he knew. Later, we sat at the dining table. Adam opened his laptop. "There are a few things we need to settle," he said. "First, your safety. Daniel cannot contact or harass you. If he tries, I'll take legal action." I stayed quiet, absorbing every word. "Second, your independence. I'm transferring a portion of my company's shares to you. You'll have financial stability." I shook my head. "Adam, I can't take that." He rested his hands on the table and looked at me firmly. "You're not taking anything. You're accepting what I want to give as your brother. You stood alone for too long. Let me help now." I didn't argue again. "And third," he continued, "you need time to heal. That house didn't just hurt you. It shaped you into someone who forgot her own strength." He paused. "That ends now." I felt something inside me settle. I wasn't scared of tomorrow anymore. That night, I lay in bed thinking about everything that had happened. The humiliation, the slap, the lollipop, the shock of seeing my brother alive, the walk of dignity as I left that house, and the way Adam stood for me without hesitation. For the first time in a long while, I didn't fall asleep with a tight chest. I didn't worry about what tomorrow would bring. I wasn't bracing myself for someone's anger. I fell asleep knowing I would wake up in a place where I mattered. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual. Not because someone shouted my name, not because I had chores waiting, but because my mind was finally clear. I walked downstairs and found Adam already in the living room, reviewing documents on his laptop. He looked up when he heard me. "Morning," he said. "Morning," I replied. He closed the laptop halfway. "I have a feeling today might be eventful," he said. "Daniel won't stay quiet after you left." My stomach tightened. I don't want problems. I just want peace. "You'll have peace," Adam said. "But only after we make it clear you're not someone he can manipulate anymore." As if the universe was listening, my phone vibrated on the table. "Daniel." My chest tightened, but I didn't touch the phone. Adam nodded toward it. "Answer it if you want. Ignore it if you don't. Your choice." That single sentence reminded me I had control now. I picked up the phone and placed it on speaker. "Camilla, please talk to me," Daniel said, his voice shaky. I stayed quiet. "I didn't mean for things to go that far," he continued. "My mother." "Your mother slapped me," I said calmly. "And you stood there." He exhaled hard. I know I failed you. But leaving the house like that, taking everything with your brother, that was too extreme." I frowned. "Too extreme?" I repeated. "After everything she did?" There was silence. Daniel tried again. "Look, just come home, and we'll fix this. I'll talk to my mother. I'll make sure she respects you." I shook my head even though he couldn't see me. "Respect can't be forced," I said. "And I'm not coming back." Daniel raised his voice slightly. "You're my wife. Then you should have treated me like one." There was another pause. Adam leaned back in his chair, watching the moment unfold without interfering. Daniel spoke again, slower this time. Is this really what you want? To end our marriage? I looked at Adam. He didn't tell me what to do. He didn't push me. He just waited. Yes, I finally said. It is. Daniel's breath caught. I don't accept that, he said. Adam sat forward and spoke for the first time. You don't have to accept it, he said calmly. You only have to comply with the law. Daniel fell completely silent. Adam continued, without raising his voice. You watched your mother humiliate her. You watched her get slapped. You let her walk out alone. You don't get to demand anything from her now. Daniel's voice cracked. She's my wife, Adam. Adam answered bluntly. And she's my sister. And unlike you, I protect the people I love. Daniel didn't speak again. I took a slow breath. Goodbye, Daniel, I said. This chapter of my life is over. And I ended the call. My hand trembled for a moment, not from fear, but from release. Adam closed his laptop completely. That was a strong decision, he said. I'm proud of you. I exhaled, realizing how real everything had just become. Now what? I asked quietly. Adam stood up. Now, he said, we take the next step, formally ending what should have ended a long time ago. He handed me a folder. Inside were legal papers. He had already prepared everything. I looked up at him. Adam, you planned all this? He shrugged lightly. I planned for the moment you'd finally choose yourself. For the first time, I believed I had chosen right. I sat with the folder open in front of me, reading every page slowly. It felt strange, seeing my name on official documents that would end a marriage I once believed would save me. But instead of sadness, I felt clarity. Adam poured me a glass of water and placed it beside me. These papers start the legal separation, he said. Once we file them, Daniel will have to respond formally. I nodded. What happens after that? After that, he said, the court handles the rest. You won't have to face him alone. I closed the folder and took a steady breath. I'm ready, I said. He nodded.
Good.
We'll go to my lawyer today. A few hours later, we arrived at a law office downtown. It was quiet, organized, and professional, very different from the chaotic emotions inside me. Adam's lawyer, Mr. Harris, greeted us. He was calm, confident, and straightforward, exactly the kind of person I needed. He shook my hand. Camilla, I've been briefed on everything. We'll proceed with the legal separation and protection measures. Protection measures?
I asked.
He nodded.
Yes.
Based on the physical and emotional mistreatment you described, we can request a restraining order if necessary. Hearing those words made me feel something surprising. Safety. Adam sat next to me the whole time, letting me speak when I needed to and stepping in when I hesitated. Mr. Harris reviewed the documents with me and explained every step. When you sign these, he said gently, you take your life back. My chest tightened, not with fear, but with relief. I took the pen. My hand trembled for a moment, but then I signed. The moment my signature hit the page, something inside me lifted. The weight I had been carrying for years slowly loosened. Adam placed a hand on my shoulder. It's done, he said. On the drive back home, I stared out the window, not thinking about Daniel, not thinking about my mother-in-law, not thinking about my old life. I thought about the person I was becoming. A woman who didn't stay silent. A woman who didn't accept disrespect. A woman who wasn't afraid to start over. Back at Adam's house, I changed into comfortable clothes and sat in the living room. For the first time, I allowed myself to relax fully. Adam walked in and said, You know, I always believed you deserved more than what they gave you. I smiled softly. There was a time I believed that too, but I convinced myself to settle. Not anymore, he said. No, I agreed. Not anymore. My phone buzzed again, another message from Daniel, but I didn't open it. I wasn't that woman anymore. I turned the phone face down on the table. Tonight wasn't about the past.
Tonight was about me.
I leaned back on the couch, pulled a blanket over my legs, and closed my eyes. For the first time in years, I felt free. The next few days felt different, calm, steady, and strangely unfamiliar. I wasn't waking up to orders. I wasn't walking on eggshells. I wasn't bracing myself for someone's anger. Instead, I woke up in a place where no one raised their voice at me. A place where my presence didn't irritate anyone. A place where I could breathe without hesitation. Adam checked on me every morning. "You slept better," he said one day. I nodded. I'm starting to feel normal again. But normal was something I had to relearn. I spent the first few days helping around the kitchen, organizing my room, reading quietly, and taking short walks outside. Simple activities, but they felt like steps toward regaining control. One afternoon, Adam knocked on my door. "You free?" he asked. "Yes," I said. "Come with me. There's something I want you to see." We got into his car and drove across the city. I didn't ask questions. I trusted him enough not to. The car stopped in front of a large office building with tinted glass windows and a clean, professional exterior. "This is my company," Adam said. My eyes widened. "You built all this?" He nodded casually, like it wasn't a big deal. But to me, it was huge. We walked inside, and employees greeted him with respect. Confident, calm, not afraid, not forced. It was the opposite of the environment I came from. Adam guided me to a conference room. "This," he said, pointing to a folder on the table, "is your portion. These are your shares." I stared at him. "Adam, this is too much." "It's not," he said. "You're part of my future. My success means nothing if you're living in struggle." "I don't know how to do any of this," I said honestly. "You'll learn," he replied. "And I'll teach you." I took a breath. "I want to try." Adam gave a relieved smile. That's all I needed to hear. Over the next hour, he explained everything: basic responsibilities, financial security, how the shares worked, and how this step would give me a stable life without anyone controlling me. It was overwhelming, but in a good way. After the meeting, we walked outside. Adam stopped near the car and said, "I want you to remember something. You're not leaving a toxic life, you're upgrading into a strong one." I looked at him. "I'm still scared," I admitted. "That's okay," he said. "Courage doesn't mean you're never scared. It means you move forward anyway." His words stayed with me. When we got home, I spent a long time sitting on the bed, thinking about my future. Not the life I ran away from, but the life I was beginning to build. Later that evening, Adam brought me a sealed envelope. "This came for you," he said. I opened it. It was a court notice. Daniel had responded to the separation papers. My hands tightened around the paper. Adam placed a reassuring hand on mine. "This isn't bad news," he said softly. "This is the final door closing." He was right. It wasn't fear I felt this time. It was closure. That night, I stood in front of the mirror, looking at myself, not as the woman who was insulted at a Christmas party, not as the woman who was slapped in front of guests, not as the woman who was thrown out like she didn't matter, but as someone rebuilding her identity. Someone stronger. Someone wiser. Someone free. And for the first time, I whispered to myself, "I know who I am now." A week later, Adam and I sat in the lawyer's office as the final paperwork was reviewed. Everything was moving quickly, faster than I expected, but not once did I feel uncertain. This time, the decisions were mine. Mr. Harris looked up from the documents. "Camilla, the court has accepted the separation filing." Daniel responded, "And based on the details you provided, the judge will finalize everything soon. You won't need to meet him in person unless you choose to." "I don't choose to," I said simply. Adam nodded with approval. When we left the office, I felt lighter than before, not fully healed, but no longer carrying the weight of a life that wasn't mine to bear. Back at Adam's home, we sat in the living room. He handed me a cup of tea. "You've handled everything with dignity," he said. I smiled a little. I didn't feel strong. I just felt tired of being treated like nothing. "Strength comes from that," he said. "You stood up for yourself." Before I could respond, the doorbell rang. The housekeeper opened the door. Daniel stood outside. My heart skipped, not out of fear, but out of disbelief. Adam immediately walked toward the entrance. This is not the place for you, Adam said calmly. Daniel lifted his hands as if surrendering. I'm not here to fight, he said. I just want 1 minute. Adam looked at me. It's your call, he said. You want him to leave, he leaves. For the first time ever, my choice actually mattered.
I'll talk to him, I said.
Adam stayed beside me but kept enough distance so I could handle it myself. Daniel stepped forward, looking exhausted and defeated. Camilla, I just needed to apologize, he said. Not for last night, for everything. I didn't stand up for you. I let my mother decide how we lived. I wasn't a husband. He exhaled. And I know I lost you. His voice didn't shake like before. It sounded final. You're right, I said. You did lose me. He nodded slowly. I hope you find peace. And I hope your brother knows he brought you back to life. I couldn't do that. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. After a moment, Daniel stepped back. Goodbye, Camilla. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't need to. That chapter had already closed. He turned and walked away without expecting anything from me. Adam watched him leave, then looked at me. You okay? I nodded.
Yes.
Completely. That evening, Adam and I sat outside on the patio. The sky was clear, but I didn't focus on the view. I was focused on the feeling inside me, a calm I didn't know I could have. Adam leaned forward. What do you want to do now? He asked. I smiled. A real, genuine smile. I want to start my life, I said. My way. No fear. No waiting for approval. No begging for respect. Just living. He nodded. And whatever path you choose, I'm with you. I looked at him. The brother I thought I lost. The brother who came back stronger. The brother who lifted me from a life that crushed me. Thank you, I whispered. You don't need to thank me, he said. You stood up. I just stood with you. That night, before sleeping, I reflected on everything. The humiliation.
The slap.
The lollipop. The insults. The loneliness. The fear. The shock of seeing Adam alive. The strength he gave me. The decision to leave. The legal papers. The apology I never needed. The freedom I finally claimed. I realized something powerful. I didn't just walk out of a bad marriage. I walked into my real life. And this time, I knew exactly who I was. I knew what I deserved. And I would never, ever settle for less again.